Let's get a divorce. She said it so casually, sitting across from me while I was mapping out my delivery routes for the day. In that instant, I understood what the opposite of a heart flutter felt like. My stomach just dropped. 2 months later, her first love waltzed back in her life, halo and all. I chose to step aside quietly, to let her chase that spark. Another month passed, and there she was, standing downstairs from my apartment, crying her eyes out, saying she'd made a mistake. A divorce? I put down the insulated delivery bag, looking at Emily, my wife of 5 years. Say that again? Emily kept her head down, her fingers tracing the rim of a white coffee mug I'd never seen before. I said I want a divorce. The words hit me like a thunderbolt. Today was supposed to be ordinary. I'd finished my morning breakfast deliveries, come home from my lunch break. I never expected to walk in the door to this. Why? I heard my own voice tremble. Did I do something wrong? She looked up. Her eyes flickered away for a second. No, you're great, Liam. It's my problem. Your problem? I scoffed. 5 years we've been married. And when have you ever said you had a problem? It was always me. I wasn't good enough, not driven enough. So you think I'm perfect, is that it? Her voice suddenly rose. I'm just supposed to play the role of the perfect wife forever. That's not what I meant. Then what do you mean? She stood up. I just don't think we're right for each other anymore. You didn't think that when we got married 5 years ago. People change. She slammed the coffee mug down on the table. Some things you think are okay at the time, and then later you realize they're not. I stared at that coffee mug, the gold leaf lettering on it glinting harshly in the sunlight. So, you found someone more, right? What's that supposed to mean? Her voice turned tense. Nothing. I took off my delivery cap. Just asking. I mean, you suddenly want a divorce. There's got to be a reason, right? I told you it's my problem. Fine. I nodded. Your problem. So what is it? She fell silent. The room was terrifyingly quiet, only the tick-tock of the wall clock marking time. 5 years had passed to that sound, and now it was witnessing the collapse of our marriage. Just don't ask anymore, she finally said. If possible, I'd like this to be amicable. Amicable? I couldn't help but laugh. You make it sound like we're just breaking up after a few dates. Emily, we're married, legally. You're asking for a divorce without even giving me a real reason, and you call that amicable. So what do you want? Her voice trembled. A big fight? Do we have to find someone to blame? I looked at her, this woman who had once promised to grow old with me, now unwilling to give me even one honest reason. A deep wave of exhaustion washed over me. Fine, a divorce it is. I turned and walked toward the door. I won't be back tonight. Pack your stuff. Take what you want. Leave what you want. Where are you going? Her voice came from behind me. Making deliveries, I said, opening the door. Rent's due this month. Besides, after this, we'll be strangers. Where I go doesn't seem like something I need to report to you, does it? As I closed the door, I heard the sound of something shattering. That unfamiliar white coffee mug, probably smashed on the floor. But that wasn't my concern anymore, was it? I knew this neighborhood like the back of my hand. I made dozens of deliveries here every day. But today, standing on the street, looking at the upscale cafe across the way, a strange mix of emotions churned inside me. Because through that bright, clear window, I saw Emily and a man. They were sitting by the window, 2 coffees on the table. The man wore a crisp shirt, a designer watch on his wrist, and carried himself with the air of a successful man. And Emily, she was smiling a genuine, happy smile I hadn't seen in a long, long time. So this was the networking event she had today. I stood in the shadows across the street, watching them. When had Emily dyed her hair that light brown? She was also wearing a new dress I didn't recognize. We lived under the same roof, yet we'd slowly become strangers in each other's lives. I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook. I never used to care about this stuff, but right now, I needed to know the truth. Emily hadn't updated her feed in ages, but 2 months ago, she'd liked a post. It was an ad for a new coffee shop with a picture of a white coffee mug, its rim adorned with gold leaf lettering. That familiar coffee mug. Clicking on the ad, I found the coffee shop's address. It was this one, right in front of me. Scrolling down, I saw his name in the comments, Ethan. A new order notification pinged on my phone, pulling me back to reality. I glanced at it, a bubble tea Dostavka to a nearby office building. Just as I was about to hop on my e-bike, I couldn't resist one last look at the cafe. Emily was getting up, and Ethan, ever the gentleman, helped her with her coat. Through the window, I couldn't make out their expressions, but that gesture stung my eyes. Between deliveries, I called Emily's best friend, Sarah. Liam, are you looking for Emily? I'm not looking for her. I cut in. I just have one question for you. Who is Ethan? Silence on the other end for a few seconds. She didn't tell you? So you know. Another pause, then I heard her sigh. He was her college boyfriend. They broke up because of long distance. Last month, he came back to the States to start a business, and they ran into each other at that cafe. That's it. That's it. But Liam, you need to try and move on. That was all in the past. I let out a dry laugh. The past? She just asked me for a divorce today. What? Her voice shot up an octave. No way. Emily never said anything to me. So, you didn't know she wanted a divorce either? She stammered. Don't overthink this, Liam. I'll go talk to her right now and find out what's going on. Don't bother. I hung up. Just pretend I never called. Another order came in. I started my e-bike and merged into traffic. The city was still bustling, people still hurrying about their lives, but my own world felt like it was slowly losing its color. 10 o'clock at night, my last delivery done. I stood outside my company's building, looking at the scattered lights in the office towers. 5 years ago, I met Emily for the first time in a building just like this. I was trying to get a startup off the ground back then, here to pitch a project, and I met her in the elevator. She was wearing a sharp suit, a folder in her hand, looking professional and elegant. The elevator got stuck and we were trapped. In the darkness, I heard her breathing quicken. She seemed scared. Don't worry, I'm here, I said, pulling out my phone and turning on the flashlight. In the light, her face was a little pale, but she still smiled at me. Thank you. That smile. It just walked right into my life. Later, my startup failed, but she was there, supporting and encouraging me. She said as long as we were together, we could face anything. Thinking back now, maybe she was just being kind back then, choosing an ordinary guy like me. And now, with her first love back with a golden glow, an average delivery guy like me probably wasn't in her life plans anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Are you really not coming home tonight? I looked at the message and almost laughed. Our marriage was ending, and she was worried about whether I was coming home. Don't worry, staying at a friend's, I replied. Get some rest. Truth was, where could I go? I booked a cheap motel room, but I had no desire to go inside. I got on my e-bike and just rode aimlessly through the city streets. It wasn't until my phone was about to die that I finally went back to that shabby motel room. Lying in bed, I scrolled through the photos on my phone. The most recent one of us was from 3 months ago, on Emily's birthday. Even then, her smile had seemed a bit forced, but I hadn't wanted to dwell on it. Perhaps the cracks in our marriage had been there for a while, and we'd both just chosen to ignore them. Until that first love returned, shining so brightly, and with a gentle touch, shattered the whole fragile illusion. I started skipping my trip home to change for the afternoon shift. I just swapped clothes at the depot and head straight out for deliveries. Emily never said a word about it. I still Venmo'd her the rent on time, cover my share of the utilities, like a responsible roommate. One afternoon, I was delivering near her office building. From a distance, I saw Emily walk out of the lobby. She had makeup on today, wearing a new floral dress. Ethan's car, a brand new Mercedes, was parked by the curb. He walked around to the passenger side and opened the door for Emily. That chivalrous gesture reminded me of our wedding day, 5 years ago, when I'd done the same for her. Except back then, it was a rented sedan. Liam, what are you spacing out for? This order's a rush, a coworker's voice snapped me back. Coming. I hopped on my e-bike and turned away. In my rearview mirror, the Mercedes smoothly joined the flow of traffic and disappeared around the corner. The lunch rush was insane. Delivery guys like us were buzzing around like bees. Elevators, stairs, office buildings, apartment complexes, one scene after another flashed before my eyes. Until my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Hello. May I speak to Liam Thompson? A smooth male voice. This is Ethan Hayes. I nearly dropped my phone. Mr. Thompson, I'd like to talk to you, he said politely. About Emily. There's nothing to talk about. I feel it's necessary to explain, he said. After all, this situation. Mr. Hayes, I cut him off. There's no need for explanations between us. She wants a divorce, I agreed. It's that simple, but if there's nothing else, I have deliveries to make. I hung up. A new order popped up. It was for that coffee shop. I stared at the screen for a long moment before accepting the order. When I pushed open the glass door, the barista handed me a white paper bag with the shop's name printed in gold foil. It's 2 coffees, she said. 1 Americano and 1. No need to tell me. I took the bag. I'll get it there. The delivery address was Emily's office. In the elevator, I could smell the aroma of coffee drifting from the bag. The man even remembered what kind of coffee she drank. Ding! The elevator arrived. Just as I was about to step out, I heard familiar voices from around the corner in the hallway. Are you really going through with a divorce? It was Sarah, Emily's best friend. Yeah, Emily's voice was soft. I feel like I need a fresh start. Just because Ethan's back. Not entirely. She paused. These past few years, I've always felt like something was missing. Ethan, he makes me feel that spark again. But Liam's so good to you. I know. Her voice choked up a bit. He's a good man. That's why I can't keep stringing him along. It's better than having him waste his life in a marriage with no passion. I turned around and got back in the elevator. I left the 2 coffees with the receptionist for them. When I clocked out that evening, I ran into a drunk customer. He wanted me to deliver his booze to a park bench downstairs. Said he was waiting for someone there. Bro, why do people change their minds, huh? He slurred, completely wasted. I put down the bottle. Maybe the spark's gone. Bullshit, he suddenly got agitated. Is the spark that damn important? The daily grind, the bills and groceries, that's real life. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. You're right. But some people just can't quit that thrill. The sky had completely darkened. Streetlights flickered on one by one. I rode my e-bike through the city streets. Store windows on either side were filled with couples' outfits, wedding dresses, diamond rings. It suddenly hit me. Valentine's Day was coming up. Last Valentine's Day, we watched a movie at home. Emily was curled up on the sofa, complaining about the plot. I made her favorite bubble tea, and after drinking it, she fell asleep on my shoulder. Back then, I thought that quiet life was happiness. Only now did I understand that she'd been waiting all along for someone who could make her feel that spark. My phone vibrated. A text from Emily. Thanks for the coffee today. I stared at the message, typed out a reply, deleted it, and finally just sent back. Okay, that was enough. If she wanted to chase a feeling, why should I try to tie her down with the comfort of our routine? After all, if you love someone, you have to learn to step aside when their heart finds its spark elsewhere. The afternoon sun cast a lazy glow over the streets as I waited outside the coffee shop for an order. My reflection stared back from the window, work jacket a bit worn, cap askew on my head. Just a moment, coffee's almost ready, the barista said. I nodded, my gaze unintentionally sweeping across the cafe. Ethan was at his usual table, working on his laptop. For the past week, he'd been here at this exact time every day, ordering 2 coffees. Sure enough, Emily arrived shortly after. Her bumping into Ethan at the company had become a sort of unspoken routine. I watched her walk in the cafe, and Ethan immediately closed his laptop and stood up. Ping, a new order notification on my phone. I turned and left, not wanting to see their reunion. After a few more deliveries, I passed by the coffee shop again. Through the glass, I saw them still talking. Emily's eyes were bright, as if she were listening to something fascinating. Ethan gestured elegantly as he spoke, occasionally making her laugh out loud. Liam, this is for you. The girl from the bubble tea place next door handed me a drink. Saw you standing out here for a while. My treat. I only then realized how long I'd been loitering. Oh, thanks so much, I said, taking the tea. Liam, have you been? She started, then trailed off. What's up? Nothing, she waved her hand. Just seems like you've been kind of out of it lately. I forced a smile. Probably just tired. Another order came in. I got on my e-bike, ready to leave. Just then, Ethan and Emily came out of the coffee shop. They walked side by side on the sidewalk, their easy laughter reminding me of us 5 years ago. Back then, we were just like that, strolling down the street, talking about nothing in particular, laughing at the smallest things. Thinking back, when did that carefree laughter start to fade? Liam, you're spacing out again. A coworker's shout brought me back. Coming. I sped off, catching only a glimpse in my rearview mirror of Ethan opening the car door for Emily. Towards evening, I received a peculiar order. Ethan had placed it, requesting a coffee delivery to Emily's office building. I stood in her company's lobby, watching the receptionist call up to her. A moment later, the elevator doors opened, and Emily walked out. She was visibly startled to see me. Your coffee, I said, handing her the paper bag. Thanks. She took it, hesitating for a moment. Liam, I have other deliveries, I said, turning to leave. Wait. She stopped me. Where have you been staying lately? A motel. I mean, she bit her lip. If you want to come back to the apartment, you can. I can stay with a friend. No need. I cut her off. This is fine. As I turned to leave, I heard her say softly, I'm sorry. That word was like a dull knife, slowly carving a wound in my heart. But I just quickened my pace and pushed open the glass door. Night fell, and the city lit up with a dazzling display of lights. I rode my e-bike through the streets, and before I knew it, I was in our old neighborhood. Looking up, I saw the light on in our apartment. My phone vibrated. A text from building management. Dear resident, your apartment's utility bills have been paid. Thank you for your cooperation. It seemed Emily had used the money I transferred to pay the bills. This feeling of familiarity mixed with distance mirrored our current relationship. We lived in the same city, yet it felt like we were worlds apart. Just then, a Mercedes pulled slowly into the complex. Through the car window, I saw Ethan dropping Emily home. Their laughter drifted through the open window, Emily's smile exceptionally bright in the darkness. I started my e-bike, about to leave, when I heard Ethan say, "Emily, have the divorce papers been finalized?" "Not yet." Her voice was a bit low. "Liam, he doesn't seem to be in any hurry." "Well, I can go with you to the county clerk's office tomorrow if you like." "No, it's okay," she said. "I'll handle this myself." I didn't stay to hear more, just rode away from the complex. The night air was a bit chilly, but not as cold as the feeling in my heart. So, in their eyes, my lack of urgency was an obstacle, and my consideration had become superfluous. Back at the motel, I pulled out the divorce papers I prepared some time ago. Maybe it was time to let go. After all, in a relationship, it was one thing for me to be unhappy, but I couldn't be a stumbling block to someone else's happiness. It was a drizzly afternoon. I wore my rain jacket, navigating the streets for deliveries. The patter of rain on my helmet created a sense of being cut off from the world. A new order notification pinged. That coffee shop again. I hesitated for a moment, but accepted it. By now, I was used to seeing Emily and Ethan at the cafe, just as I was used to the city's intermittent rain. But they weren't there today. As I picked up the order and was about to leave, I heard the click of heels behind me. Turning around, I saw Emily. Her hair and clothes were soaked from the rain. "Liam," she called out, "can we talk?" I glanced at the delivery in my hand. "I have an order to deliver. Just 5 minutes." Her voice trembled, whether from the cold rain or something else, I couldn't tell. Soft music played in the cafe. A server thoughtfully handed Emily a towel. She dabbed at her hair, then looked directly into my eyes. "The divorce papers." I saw them. I was taken aback. I'd left them in the mailbox by the door that day, thinking she hadn't found them yet. "And I want to start over with Ethan," she said quickly, as if afraid she wouldn't be able to say it if she slowed down. Being around him these past few weeks, I've realized I never really forgot him. The rain outside grew heavier, drumming against the window pane. "You know," she continued, "we broke up back then because he was moving abroad. We both thought long distance would be too hard, so we let go. But now he's back, and he's successful." I finished for her. "Good career, bright future. Unlike me, just a delivery guy." "It's not like that." She shook her head. "You're a good person, Liam, really. I remember everything you've done for me these past 5 years. It's just that you love him more." She looked down, not denying it. "Okay." I stood up. "Sign the divorce papers when you've read them. I'll file them in a few days." "Liam, don't say any more." I pulled on my rain jacket. The delivery's getting cold. The moment I pushed open the door, cold rain hit me. I got on my e-bike, rainwater blurring my vision. The feeling was familiar. The day my startup failed 5 years ago, it had rain just like this. Back then, Emily had biked to meet me, drenched to the bone but still smiling, saying, "It's okay, we'll start over." Now, she was starting over with someone else. After my last delivery, I stood by the roadside and called a coworker. "Can you cover my shift tomorrow? I have some personal business to take care of." "Sure thing," he agreed readily. "You got something on your mind lately? If you need help, just say the word." "Nothing," I said, gazing at the blurry, rain-swept street. "Just finalizing a divorce." Silence on the other end for a few seconds. "Liam, don't worry, I've thought it through." Hanging up, I opened the notes app on my phone. It listed the documents I needed for tomorrow: ID, marriage certificate. 5 years of marriage, soon to be concluded with a few pieces of paper. My phone vibrated. A text from Ethan. "Mr. Thompson, I heard you've agreed to the divorce. Thank you for your understanding. I promise I'll treat Emily well." I stared at the message, a sense of absurdity washing over me. He was thanking me with this victor's magnanimity, as if I were a decently sporting loser. But perhaps in his eyes, I really was a loser. Failed startup, delivery driver, couldn't even keep his own wife. The rain intensified. I continued riding through the streets. As I passed our old apartment complex, I saw Emily talking to Ethan. He held an umbrella over her, and the way she looked at him held a light I once knew well. It was the spark of new love. In our 5 years of marriage, that light had gradually dimmed, then disappeared. Now, it was shining brightly for someone else. Back at the motel, I took out my wallet. Tucked in a flap was our wedding photo, now slightly yellowed. Emily, in her white dress, was smiling so radiantly. I remembered her saying it was the happiest day of her life. But now, she was about to experience that happiness all over again with someone else. I put the photo away and searched on my phone for the address of the county clerk's office. Tomorrow, this chapter would officially close. After all, in love, it seemed the spark really did matter more than commitment. I hadn't lost to Ethan. I'd lost to that yearning for a spark in Emily's heart. The hallway at the county clerk's office was quiet, save for the click-clack of keyboards. Emily sat beside me, head down, flipping through the divorce papers. She wore a pale blue dress today, one I hadn't seen before. An official called our number. "Please confirm your information." the clerk said. If everything is in order, sign here. I picked up the pen, my hand trembling slightly as I wrote my name. The signature was still clear. When Emily took the pen, I noticed her hand was shaking too. All right, your divorce is finalized, the clerk said, wishing you both the best in the future. That routine pleasantry felt a little ironic. Stepping out of the office, the sunlight was almost blinding. Liam, Emily began, then trailed off. Go pack your things, I said. I'll come by tonight to move my stuff out. She nodded and turned away. Watching her retreating figure, I suddenly remembered being in this very place 5 years ago. Only then we were picking up a marriage certificate. Back at the depot, my co-workers looked at me strangely. Liam, you really did it. Kevin, one of the guys, sidled up to ask. Yeah, but... He hesitated. Weren't you guys, like, good together? I managed to smile. Looking good on the surface doesn't mean it is good. Is the other guy rich? He blurted out. It's not about money. I pulled on my work jacket. She just found that spark again. Man, you're letting her off way too easy. Kevin said, a bit agitated. Why does she get to chase feelings and just walk away whenever she wants? I clapped him on the shoulder. Matters of the heart. There's no right or wrong. Come on, orders are coming in. Riding through the city streets, flashes of the past few years kept playing in my mind. Emily loved coffee, but never made it herself. I used to make her a cup every morning. Even after I started delivering, I'd make it ahead of time and leave it in a thermos for her. Now, that thermos would probably be replaced by a fancier coffee mug. Ding dong. My phone chimed. A text from Emily. My things are packed. Keys are in the mailbox by the door. Okay, I replied. Another message came through. I sent back your share of the remaining rent. No need. You keep it. Liam, Emily, I cut her off. From today on, we're strangers. You don't owe me anything, and you don't need to feel sorry. The other end was silent for a long time before a simple okay came through. After work, I stopped by a hardware store and bought some cardboard boxes. Standing in front of our apartment door, I took a deep breath and retrieved the key from the mailbox. The moment I opened the door, a familiar scent washed over me. The apartment looked the same, just emptier without Emily's things. Her side of the closet was half empty, the shoe rack too. On the desk was an envelope. I opened it. Inside were photos, all of us together from over the years, with dates and places written on the back. It seemed she'd left me everything that was mine. While packing, I found a thermos in the kitchen. It stood quietly in the cupboard, a thin layer of dust on it. Emily had said she wanted to keep it, but in the end, she hadn't taken it. My phone suddenly rang. It was Sarah, Emily's best friend. Liam, are you sure about this? I'm sure. You're just letting her go? Not even going to try and win her back. I looked at the thermos in my hand. What's the point of trying? Her heart's not here anymore. All I'd be holding on to is an empty shell. But, Nobu, I cut her off. Help me look out for her. If Ethan doesn't treat her right, you tell me. Liam, you're really something else. She sighed. Okay, I promise. Hanging up, I continued packing. Under the coffee table, I found a movie ticket stub from last Valentine's Day. Emily had fallen asleep on my shoulder then, and I hadn't dared to move until the movie ended. Thinking back, maybe even then, she'd already stopped feeling any spark in our life together. It was 2 a.m. when I finally finished packing everything. Looking at the empty rooms, 5 years of memories replayed in my mind like a movie. We dreamed so many dreams here, but in the end, we had to wake up and go our separate ways. The moment I locked the door, something clicked. The price of letting go wasn't just losing a person, it was facing all the moments of the rest of my life alone. And I was ready for it. It had been half a month since we separated. I was starting to get used to living alone. My new place was out in the suburbs. Rent was cheaper, but it meant waking up an hour earlier for work. For a delivery guy, that wasn't a big deal. One evening, I had a bubble tea delivery. A light rain was falling, and I rode my e-bike through the streets, rain jacket on. Waiting at a red light by a park entrance, I unintentionally spotted a familiar figure. Emily was sitting alone on a park bench. She didn't have an umbrella, letting the fine rain soak her clothes. Even from a distance, I could tell she was crying. The light turned green, but I didn't leave immediately. After a moment's hesitation, I canceled the bubble tea order and parked my bike by the roadside. Why are you crying? I asked, walking over to the bench. She looked up, saw it was me, and quickly wiped her tears. It's nothing. I pulled a disposable poncho from my bag and handed it to her. Don't sit in the rain. She took the poncho, but didn't put it on, just clutched it in her hands. What are you doing here? Making a delivery. I pointed to my work jacket. What about you? Why are you here all alone? Where's Ethan? At the mention of his name, fresh tears welled up in her eyes. We had a fight, she said, her head bowed. Oh, I nodded. About what? He said he's moving to another city for a job. and he want me to go with him. I paused for a moment. Isn't that a good thing? New city, new beginning. But what about my job? What about my friends? She looked up. He want me to quit and go with him, says he'll support me. But I don't want to. You don't want to be a stay-at-home wife. I finished for her. She nodded. I know he means well, but I feel like that kind of life is too dependent on someone else. So you fought. Yeah. She wiped her tears. He said I don't trust him enough, that I wasn't appreciating his gesture. I suddenly smiled. So Mr. Perfect Ethan can be pretty clueless too, huh? What are you smiling about? Nothing. I leaned back against the bench, just remembering how you used to say I wasn't romantic enough, not considerate enough. Looking back, makes me look pretty good in comparison, doesn't it? She blinked, then a small smile touched her lips. You, still cracking jokes at a time like this. Not joking. I looked at her. Emily, in matters of love, it's never about who's right or wrong. You thought I wasn't good enough, so you chose Ethan. Now you think Ethan isn't good enough. Well, then keep looking for the next one. Are you making fun of me? No. I stood up. I'm serious. Everyone has the right to chase perfection, but you have to be willing to face the consequences of your choices. She lowered her head. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I straightened my work jacket. Think carefully about what you're going to do next. Stay here and keep your job, or go with Ethan to a new city. It's your life, your choice. As I turned to leave, she suddenly called out, Liam, do you hate me? I don't hate you. I didn't turn back, but I can't love you again either. Leaving the park, I rode my e-bike through the rain. A new order notification pinged on my phone from that coffee shop. I glanced at the order details. Placed by Ethan, delivery to Emily's office. I silently rejected the order. This was one delivery I wouldn't make, just like some pasts don't need repeating. Back in my rental that night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Thinking about Emily saying Ethan was moving to another city, I found it almost funny. When we first got married, the one thing she never wanted to do was leave this city. Now Ethan was presenting her with the same choice, and she was hesitating. It seemed love really does change. The principles you once held so firm can bend for different people. The vows you thought would last a lifetime can crumble the moment the spark fades. My phone vibrated. A text from Emily. Thanks for your advice today. I looked at the message, typed and deleted several replies, and ultimately sent nothing. Sometimes, too much concern becomes entanglement. Since we were strangers now, we should maintain a stranger's distance. The rain continued outside. I got up and closed the window. Tonight, somewhere in this city, someone was crying, someone was lost, someone was making a choice. But none of it concerned me anymore. I opened the delivery app and checked my schedule for tomorrow. Life had to go on, just like delivery orders, new ones would always come. And as for the mis-delivered ones, let them stay in the realm of memory. A month went by. I was getting used to living alone. No coffee to make for anyone in the morning, no late-night snacks to pick up for someone else. And even on my days off, I no longer had to consciously avoid that particular coffee shop. One afternoon, I was waiting for an order at a noodle shop. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Liam? Turning around, I saw Sarah, Emily's best friend. She was holding a takeout container, apparently also waiting for an order. Long time no see. I nodded. You doing okay lately? She asked a little hesitantly. Doing great. I gestured to my work jacket. Delivering when I need to, sleeping when I need to. She was quiet for a moment, then suddenly said, Emily and Ethan broke up. I glanced down at the order details on my phone. Oh, well, that's good for her, I guess. Is that all you have to say? Yep. I picked up my packaged order. Liam Thompson, she called after me. Emily's been trying to reach you. Why haven't you been answering her messages? I turned back. Why should I? She regrets it. She lowered her voice. She said being with Ethan made her realize how good you were to her. I laughed. So? She wants to come back. You two could start over. Start over? I cut her off. What do you think love is? Expired food? Toss it when you don't like it, then pick it back up when you're hungry again. She was stunned. But she genuinely knows she was wrong. Knows she was wrong? I tug at the corner of my mouth. What was she wrong about? Is there something wrong with chasing a spark? With wanting a better life? With choosing the life she wanted? So what you're saying is? What I'm saying is, I looked directly into her eyes. She wasn't wrong, and neither was I. We just chose different paths. Now her choice has disappointed her. That's her business. But don't expect me to be her backup plan. With that, I turned and left. As I pushed open the door, I heard her say from behind me, Emily said you've changed. Have I? I paused. Then tell her, thanks for making me a better man. Riding through the streets, I thought about the messages Emily had been sending. From her first tentative, how are yous, to the subtle hints later on, and now to outright asking me back. I'd seen them all, but chose not to reply. It wasn't out of hatred or spite. I just truly understood that some roads, once taken, shouldn't be revisited. A new order notification pinged from the coffee shop near Emily's office. I looked at the order details. It was placed by her, but the delivery address wasn't her office. It was her old apartment. I rejected the order. This wasn't avoidance. It was a choice. Just as she had chosen Ethan back then, I was now choosing my new life. After work, I passed by a convenience store. Through the window, I saw Emily lingering by a shelf. She looked like she'd lost some weight, dressed in a simple t-shirt and jeans, a far cry from the polished look she used to have. She picked up a can of coffee, looked at it, then put it back. Then she walked over to another aisle, picked up a thermos, and hesitated for a long time. I knew what she was thinking. That thermos was the same model I used to use when I made coffee for her. Just then, she turned her head and saw me through the window. Our eyes met, and for a moment we both froze. She put down the thermos and hurried out of the store. Liam. Sorry, I have another delivery. I started my e-bike. Wait. She stepped in front of my bike. Can we? Emily. I interrupted her. Do you know about the butterfly effect? She looked momentarily confused, then shook her head. It means a butterfly flaps its wings, and it can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world. I looked into her eyes. Your choices were like that butterfly's wings. They've changed our paths. Now we both need to follow our own. Let me buy you dinner, Emily said, as a thank you for everything over the years. I initially wanted to refuse, but hearing the earnestness in her voice, I eventually agreed. We decided on that little diner where we had our first date. Pushing open the diner door, the rich aroma of food hit me. This place is getting torn down soon, she said, looking out the window. The owner said they're moving out next month. Is that right? I glanced around. Yeah, this whole area is being redeveloped. The server brought over 2 bowls of noodles and a plate of their braised beef. It was steaming hot, smelling exactly as I remembered. Remember the first time we came here? She picked up a piece of beef with her chopsticks and placed it in my bowl. I remember. I nodded. You said the beef here was better than anything back home. Yeah, she smiled. You said back then you bring me here every day. But then work got busy and we rarely came. I stir my noodles. It's always the way, isn't it? You don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. Her chopsticks paused. Liam, let's not talk about that. I cut her off. Let's just eat. We ate in silence, much like that night years ago. Except back then, we were full of lively conversation, and now, only the clinking of cutlery filled the space. Ethan's moving for work, she said suddenly. A big opportunity. He asked me to go with him. I swallowed a mouthful of noodles. And I turned him down. She looked down at her bowl. I realized I wasn't with him because I loved him. I was just looking for a reason to feel that spark again. Figuring that out now isn't too late. Liam. She looked up, her eyes glistening with tears. What if I said I wanted to start over? I put down my chopsticks and looked at her seriously. Emily, I've been thinking a lot lately about what love really is. She looked puzzled. What is it? I used to think love was about constant giving, about unconditional acceptance, I said with a small smile. But now I understand that love, first and foremost, is about respect. Respecting the other person's choices and respecting your own. So when you chose to leave, I chose to let go. That wasn't out of spite. It was out of respect, I continued. Now you're saying you want to start over, but for me, that would be disrespecting my own choice. She lowered her head, tears dripping onto the table. I'm sorry. No need to apologize. I handed her a napkin. We both have to take responsibility for our choices. You chose to chase a feeling, and I chose to protect my dignity. Neither was wrong, but I really regret it. Regret is also a form of growth. I took a sip of water. Just like I don't regret loving you so much back then. It's because I truly gave it my all that I understand what's worth it and what's not. She wiped her tears. So what about us? In the future, we're strangers. I looked out the window. You go live the life you want, and I'll do the same. It's that simple. After dinner, we walked out of the diner together. It was late, and the streets were quieting down. Wanting to see you home? I asked. She shook her head. No, it's okay. I called an Uber. All right then. I turned to leave. Wait. She took something out of her bag. This is yours. It was the thermos, the first one we'd used when we got married. You keep it. I didn't take it. As a memento. But, Emily, I interrupted. Some things are best left as memories. As I walked away, I heard her say softly behind me, thank you for loving me all those years. I didn't look back, just waved my hand. The night breeze carried the faint scent of braised beef. The diner would be gone soon, just like our relationship, eventually becoming a memory. But at least we'd said goodbye in the best way we could. A week went by. I started to get used to not thinking about that farewell dinner. Until one afternoon, while delivering to an office building, I overheard something. Man, Ethan doesn't waste any time. Engaged already. I know, right? Heard us with the main investor's daughter. No wonder he was in such a hurry to make that big move. I was about to turn and leave when I heard a more familiar voice. Yeah, well, business is business. It was Ethan. Feelings are one thing, but at the end of the day, you have to be practical. He emerged from a conference room, laughing and talking with several people in suits. He clearly tensed when he saw me standing by the delivery drop-off, but quickly regained his composure. Mr. Thompson. He nodded, his smile still perfectly polite. I didn't say anything, just placed a food container on the table and left. As I reached the elevator, I heard him hurry after me. Mr. Thompson, I'd like to explain. No need to explain. I pressed the elevator button. It's your prerogative. But about Emily, you don't need to say anything. I turned to face him. Didn't you say you were going to treat her well? He was silent for a moment. Some things are out of my control. The partnership over there is too important, So that's what your spark is worth. I scoffed. In business, you have to make choices. Sacrifices. He adjusted his tie. I'm sure Emily will understand. The elevator arrived. I stepped inside. Congratulations on your engagement. Back downstairs, I called Sarah, Emily's best friend. Did you know Ethan's engaged? There was a long silence on the other end. I know. Emily found out last night. She cried all night. Is she okay? You're asking now. Her tone was reproachful. When she wanted to come back, why didn't you care then? I gave a bitter laugh. That's different. How is it different? Isn't it all? I couldn't let go because of my dignity. He couldn't let go because of his interests. I cut her off. I admit I'm stubborn, but at least my choices were sincere. She was silent. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. I sighed. Just look after her. Hanging up, I stare at my phone. Fate really has a twisted sense of humor. Emily left me for a spark, and now Ethan was leaving her for profit. A new order notification pinged from that coffee shop. Looking at the familiar address, I felt a sudden sense of disorientation. That white coffee mug with the gold leaf lettering, I wondered where it was now. I rode my e-bike through the city streets, remembering all the things Emily had said about chasing that spark. In this real world, how many sparks could truly withstand the test of self-interest? Later that afternoon, I ran into Ethan again. He was downstairs from an office building, talking to a blonde woman, his gestures intimate. That must be his future fiancée. Watching them laugh and talk, I suddenly remembered Emily's words to me. I want to find that spark again. Had she found it? Or had she finally understood that some sparks are just illusions, unable to withstand the harsh realities of life? After work, I passed by our old neighborhood. From a distance, I saw Emily standing under a streetlight. She seemed to be waiting for someone, but there was no one around. I slowed down and saw her wiping away tears. The scene reminded me of that day in the park. Only this time, the reason was completely different. After a moment's hesitation, I sped up and rode away. Some pain you have to endure alone. Just as I had endured the pain of divorce, she now had to learn to face things on her own. Back at my rental, I received a text from Sarah. She said she wants to see you. I looked at the message, typed and deleted a reply, and finally just wrote back, take care of her. Lying in bed, I thought of Ethan's words. Feelings are feelings, but eventually reality hits. How ironic. Emily had chased a feeling, only to be brutally awakened by reality. And I, who had chosen reality from start, somehow seemed more sincere in comparison. Perhaps this was fate's little joke. It always teaches us its most profound lessons when we least expect them. 11 o'clock at night. I had just finished my last delivery. My phone suddenly started ringing insistently. It was Emily. I'm downstairs from your building. Her voice was thick with tears. You have to see me. When I pushed open the lobby door, I saw her curled up by the stairwell. Hearing the door, she looked up sharply. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes red and swollen. She looked like she'd been crying for a long time. You're finally back. She stood up, stumbling slightly. I smelled alcohol. You've been drinking? Yeah, I've been drinking, she said with a bitter laugh. If I didn't, I wouldn't even have the courage to see you. What's wrong? What's wrong? Her voice suddenly rose. Ethan's getting married, did you know? I nodded. I heard. He lied to me. Her voice began to tremble. He said he'd take me with him, give me a better life. And what happened? I looked at her. So you came here for me to listen to your troubles? No. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I came to beg you. Liam, can we start over? Please. Emily, I know I was wrong. She grabbed my arm. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have chased some stupid spark. Shouldn't have given up on our marriage. Please, just give me one more chance, okay? I gently freed my arm. I'm sorry. Why? She suddenly screamed, almost hysterical. Just because I made a mistake, does that mean I never get a chance to fix it? Didn't you say you'd always love me? It's precisely because I loved you that I can't start over. What kind of logic is that? She laughed, a strained, almost crazed sound. Because you loved me, you can't love me anymore? I took a deep breath. Not because I loved you, but because I finally understand what real love is. What do you mean? Real love isn't about possession. It's about wanting what's best for the other person, even if it's not you. I looked into her eyes. When you wanted to chase that spark, I chose to let you. Now that you're facing a setback, I still choose to let you. Let me what? Let you face the consequences of your own choices. My voice was calm. Emily, you don't really want to start over with me right now. You're just running away. She froze. You're running away from the fallout of your decisions. I continued. But running away doesn't solve anything. You have to learn to face it on your own. But I'm scared. Her voice suddenly became very small. I'm scared of being alone. So you're looking for a substitute? A rebound? I shook my head. I'm sorry. I can't be your safe harbor. Why not? Because I have to be responsible for myself. I looked directly at her. Just like when you chose that spark, I have to make choices for myself now. She sank to the ground. So you'd rather watch me suffer like this? Pain is part of the process. I crouched down, meeting her gaze. Just like the pain I went through with a divorce. No one was there for me then, but I got through it. You can too. I was so wrong. She hugged her knees, sobbing like a child. I shouldn't have been so selfish. It's not about right or wrong. I stood up. Every choice has a price, and we all have to learn to pay it. So is there really no chance for us anymore? I pulled out my phone and called an Uber. It'll be here any minute. I'll see you get in. You didn't answer my question. Some questions, the answers are already there, I said softly. Just like some roads, once you've gone down them, you can't turn back. As she got into the car, she suddenly turned back to look at me. Liam, do you hate me? No, I don't. I shook my head. I'm grateful to you. Grateful to me? Yeah. I managed a small smile. If it weren't for your choices, I never would have understood that to truly love someone, you have to love yourself first. The car drove off. I stood there, watching the taillights disappear into the night. I pulled out my phone and saw several messages from Sarah asking if Emily had come to find me. She just left. I got her an Uber home, I replied. You too. It's over. My hand was steady as I typed. Completely over. Back in my room, I stood by the window, looking out at the late-night city. The distant neon lights still flickered, as if reminding me that life never stops. I suddenly remembered Emily asking why I was grateful to her. There was something else I hadn't said. Thank you for teaching me how to let go, and also how to hold on. Letting go of old sparks, and holding on to my own choices. That, perhaps, was the final lesson love had taught me. Spring arrived, and the city streets were lined with flowers in full bloom. I continued my deliveries as usual, weaving through familiar roads. One morning, I received a special order. It was the last ever delivery from that diner, the one that was about to be demolished. When I pushed open the door, the owner was packing up the place. Some tiles had fallen off the walls, but the rich aroma of braised beef still filled the air. Last order, the owner said with a smile. All from regulars. Everyone wanted one last taste. I took the packaged food. Where are you headed, boss? My son opened a restaurant in another state, a hot pot place. Asked me to come help out. He pointed to the sign on the wall. I'm taking the sign with me. For old time's sake. Looking at that familiar sign, I suddenly said, Boss, could you take a picture of me? Sure thing. He smiled and snapped a photo, me in my delivery uniform, standing in front of the diner, the soon-to-be-demolished building in the background. Leaving the diner, I posted the photo on Facebook. I captioned it, Goodbye to all the memories made here. Not long after, Emily liked the post. I looked at her profile picture, then clicked on her feed. Her pinned post was a picture of a plane ticket. She was moving to another city for work. Just then, a text from an unknown number caught my eye. Heard you're still doing deliveries? It was Ethan. I didn't reply, just kept working. Around noon, he sent another. If you're looking for a job, I can make some introductions. I smiled to myself and replied, No thanks, I'm pretty happy with my current job. Why? What kind of future is there in that kind of work? Because I found myself here, I typed. I prefer a real life to chasing some fleeting spark. After sending the message, I blocked his number. A new order came in for a newly opened office complex. Pushing open the glass door, I saw my reflection in the lobby's mirrored wall. Same work jacket, but it felt completely different on me now. Maybe because I'd finally learned to own my choices. After work, I went by my old neighborhood. The landlord was selling my old apartment. He asked if I wanted to take a look. It was old, but the price was right. Standing on the balcony, I saw a coffee shop under renovation not far away. The owner was testing the lights, and a warm, yellow glow illuminated the whole street. Thinking of buying? The landlord asked. Perfect for a single guy like you. Looking out at the night view, I suddenly said, Okay, I'll take it. After signing the papers, I walked back. Passing the newly renovated coffee shop, I caught the scent of coffee. I pushed open the door and went inside. Welcome. The owner, a young woman, greeted me. What can I get for you? An Americano. Please, I said. She skillfully worked the espresso machine, and soon, a fragrant coffee was placed in front of me. Looking at my reflection in the dark liquid, I felt a sudden sense of peace. Do you live around here? She asked. Yeah, just bought a place nearby. I took a sip of coffee. Are you new here? Just opened, she said with a smile. You should come by often. I nodded. I will. Walking out of the coffee shop, I glanced back. Through the window, I could see the owner wiping down the coffee machine. The warm yellow light illuminated her focused profile, making her look remarkably serene. I pulled out my phone and deleted the photo album I'd saved months ago. It contained pictures of Emily and me, photos of that other coffee shop, and that white coffee mug with the gold leaf lettering. Let those memories, along with the diner that was about to disappear, become part of the past. Back in my rental, I started packing my things. I'd be moving into my new place soon. It was the first gift I'd given myself after losing a relationship. The moon outside was bright, casting its light into the half-packed room. I suddenly remembered the question Emily had asked. What is love? Now, I finally had an answer. Love is like coffee. It can be bitter, it can be sweet, but the most important thing is that it suits you. Not all coffee needs sugar, and not all love needs to be a whirlwind romance. And I, after all the loss, finally understood. The most precious thing about love isn't the spark, it's the courage it gives you to become a better person. The city lights outside still burned brightly. My story was still going on. Only this time, I chose to carry all my experiences and insights with me, calmly heading towards my own horizon. The end.